Hey everybody, welcome to part 2 of my comeback story. Now, if you'll recall from part 1, at the end of it, I left it with falling off of my bike. And from that, where did it go? Basically, nothing actually happened. I got a few scrapes and everything was totally fine. I kid. This round will take you kind of through the more medical aspect of it and my stay in the hospital and the like, with hopefully some cool CT scans and everything shown throughout. So I thought I needed to seem that much more sciencey and put on my glasses, and they would make me seem more science-y, science-ish, scientific, and just show the ring light perfectly. I also thought that pigtails would add nicely to the mix. So I was quite unresponsive. They put me in the ambulance. They took me to the nearest trauma center, which is the Foothills Medical Center, and took me into the trauma bay. They did many x-rays, many CAT scans, and discovered that I had broken a few bones, including my clavicle, I think about 3 ribs. I had punctured my lung. I had broken my basal skull in 2 places, so basically the bottom of my skull. I also had a subdural hematoma, which is a bleed in your brain, and contusions to my frontal and temporal lobes. All of that to say, I had hit my head pretty dang hard. In the trauma bay, they intubated me, aka stuck a tube down my throat to breathe for me, and got me stabilized, and then transferred me up to the ICU. I don't know why they didn't just transfer me to the Fairmont Hotel, but whatever. In the ICU, I was taken care of very well. And in the first 24 hours, it was a big unknown as to how I would progress. It was later on in the night that they figured out that what was happening was the bleed in my brain was putting pressure on my brain and kind of shoving it over to one side. That is not what you want. So basically, my brain was getting a bit smushed on one side, so they decided that the way to do this was to do a hemicraniectomy. That means they took out a bit of my skull. And in fact, you can sort of see where they took out the bit and put the bit back in with this line. That's kind of where the bit that they took out joins up with the bit that remained attached. I had my brain exposed to the world underneath skin, but still. It was a long stay in the hospital, so I was in the intensive care unit for about 2 weeks, and then they transferred me to the neuro unit, where apparently I tried to escape one time. And I was there for 3 weeks, and then they transferred me to the rehabilitation unit, and I was there for 3 weeks. Then I got to go home. And I had in-home rehabilitation every day for 12 weeks. And then I went to outpatient rehabilitation at a local hospital, and that was for 10 months. Rehabilitation after a traumatic brain injury is longer and more intense than I ever would have anticipated, and it made me have new respect for healthcare workers and friends, family, and everyone who was kind of there in my corner and going through this all with me. I can't imagine that it was any easier for them than it was for me, and probably harder for them because the person who they care about is lying there and they don't know if this person will survive. It was said that I would never walk again, I would never speak again. They didn't know. This all has made me realize that brains are very puzzling. Anyway, I guess I was very depressed by the whole thing, and it's not saying anything about staff or family or friends. They were all amazing, but being in this situation that I quite frankly didn't understand. My brain wasn't working in the way that I would understand what I was going through, and I would feel this spot on my head that was like pushed in, and I didn't know why it was like that, and I didn't know why I wasn't allowed to leave the hospital, and was going through daily physiotherapy, occupational therapy, speech therapy, visual therapy, and was so unhappy and didn't know why I couldn't just leave the hospital and drive a car and get back on my bike and compete. And I just didn't get it. I think we probably, as humans, don't realize what it is that we have and utilize until we don't have that anymore. And I think that was what was quite hard. Again, I didn't understand why I was being treated in this way. I didn't know if I could read a book again. I didn't know if I would be able to get a job or go back to school. And I was assured, even after my release and following up with physicians at the hospital who have been amazing, they assured me that I would never be able to ride a bike again. And that was hard to hear. And me being the competitive person that I am, I decided that it was going to be my thing, that I was going to ride a bike again wearing a helmet.